guys, we are going to try something a little different today. If it goes well, we might do this again in the future. But I just wanted to be able to read this to you so you can listen to it, or you can just read it yourself, however you want to do it. But we will go through this PowerPoint for your notes that you will be using for your Chinese posters. So let's go ahead and read through this. So this is the rise and the reign of the Zhou Dynasty. Remember, this is Zhou in Chinese, or Mandarin is Zhou. It's not Zhou, it's Zhou. Dynasty in ancient China. Now, it was one of the longest lasting and most influential dynasties in ancient Chinese history. It established many cultural and political practices that still shape China today. So, what is the Zhou Dynasty? A dynasty. So, a dynasty is a period of time when a single family rules a country, often for many generations. Hopefully, you remember that. That was one of your vocab terms. Now, the Zhou Dynasty lasted for almost 800 years. It's a very long time. It's longer than the last dynasty we talked about, the Shang Dynasty. They were only about 600 years. This one's 800. Now, over here in ancient China, it says the Zhou Dynasty was a period of time in ancient China when new ideas and technologies were introduced. These advancements influenced the future of Chinese culture. And we will go over that with how they had a lot of these inventions and achievements. So, for your notes, when did the Zhou Dynasty rule? 1046 BC. That's when the Zhou Dynasty began. It ended in 256 BC. So, very close to 800 years. Also, before I forget, you guys need to have these notes open. It's on Canvas. It's on Canvas if you forget, but also you should have the paper copy that I gave you in class. So make sure you have that. So right here, what is the Zhou Dynasty? A dynasty is a period of time when a single family rules a country, often for many generations. The Zhou Dynasty lasted for almost 800 years. Make sure you fill these in. You will need these. Now, during the Zhou Dynasty, many new, let's go back, ideas and technologies. So right here, ideas and technologies were introduced, shaping future Chinese culture. So the Zhou Dynasty began in 1046 BC, ended in 256 BC. It's right here, follows along with it, goes in order. All right, next. You have the fall of the Shang Dynasty, because remember, the Shang came before the Zhou. We talked about the Shang last week. Today is the Zhou. Now, the Shang Dynasty. The Shang Dynasty was a powerful dynasty that ruled China for centuries. Ruled China for 600 years. At the very end, they had a very terrible ruler. And when that happens, rebellions happen. So the Zhou Rebellion. So the Zhou people who lived in the West started a rebellion against the Shang. So they lived in the west part of China. If we're looking at a map, it would be on the left. King Wu. Now the Zhou king, King Wu, led the rebellion against the Shang king. So let's go over here. The Shang Dynasty ruled China for centuries before the Zhou took over. The Zhou people who lived in the West started a rebellion. The rebellion was led by King Wu. Okay, moving on. Pause this video if you guys need to. King Wu and the founding of the Zhou. King Wu, he defeated the Shang in battle. Then he established the Zhou Dynasty. Now, he ruled because they had the mandate of heaven. We went over this when we talked about the Shang. But as a refresher, the mandate of heaven is saying, hey, the gods tell me I have the right to rule. So it says here, meaning they had the right to rule. It's a mandate of heaven. Heaven is telling them that they can rule. So King Wu and the founding of the Zhou. King Wu led the Zhou people to victory over the Shang. He then establishes the Zhou Dynasty. The Zhou rulers believed in the mandate of heaven, meaning they had the right to rule. Right. Let's talk about it next. The Western Zhou era. So that is from 1046 BC to 771 BC. The early period, the Zhou Dynasty established a strong government and expanded its territory. So the Zhou Dynasty established a strong, what was that? Government and expanded its territory. And the Zhou emphasized social order and harmony, creating a system of nobles and officials. See, guys, it follows right along with the reading. No guesswork here. So that's the Western Zhou. All about social order and harmony. Very strong government. Now, with the Eastern Zhou era, well, they didn't go, the history for them didn't go so well. Let's see. Internal conflicts. The Eastern Zhou era was marked by internal conflicts and power struggles. Internal conflicts and power struggles. You had the Warring States period. So it kind of all just breaks apart and they start going to war against each other. So the Zhou Dynasty weakened and lost control of most of its territory. Many kingdoms emerged, leading to constant warfare. So they break apart. Everyone starts saying, hey, I want this part of land. And they say, this is now my piece of land and I'm going to go and take control. I'm going to have the mandate of heaven. Doesn't happen. Then you have new ideas. This period saw the development of a new philosophical ideas and advancements in technology and agriculture. So we go here. This period was marked by internal conflicts and power struggles. The Zhou Dynasty lost control, leading to the Warring States period, a time of constant warfare. During this time, new philosophical ideas, new philosophies, and achievements in technology and agriculture. So technology and agriculture emerged. Okay, we already talked about this guy a little bit. Confucius. Confucius in the Age of Philosophers. I like to say eye picture. Okay, so Confucius. He was a philosopher and teacher who emphasized virtue, respect, and social harmony. Remember, we talked about the 5 key relationships, how you should act with everyone you are surrounded by. And you got this guy over here. His name is Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. He's the founder of Taoism that stresses balance and living in harmony with nature. These ideas continue to influence Chinese culture today. All right, so now Let's talk about their advancements. Now, they had iron production, so iron tools and weapons were introduced, leading to improved farming and military strength. So the Shang, they started making bronze weapons. Now we're getting into stronger metals. We're getting into iron. So iron tools and weapons improved farming and military strength. Wheel technology. Now the use of the wheel was expanded, improving transportation and trade. That's also happening everywhere else in the world too. The wheel's starting to become really big. So the wheel technology helped with transportation and trade. Then you have the coinage system. The development of a coin system facilitated trade and commerce. So they're making like quarters and dimes and nickels, making that. So the development of a coinage system facilitated trade and commerce. All right. So let's talk about the Warring States period. You have 7 kingdoms rise up. So the Zhou Dynasty, they were one big empire, and they break apart into 7 different smaller empires. Each general takes a portion of those 7 kingdoms. And they all go to war against each other because they want to be the next ruler of a unified China. So 7 kingdoms. So the Zhou Dynasty weakened, and many kingdoms fought for control of China. Lasted 200 years. The Warring States period lasted for nearly 200 years and was a time of constant warfare. Can you imagine being at war for 200 years? I don't know. That's like 5 generations of people not knowing anything other than war. But people eventually get tired of war. All right, so make sure you know these famous figures of the Zhou Dynasty. You had Confucius, who was a philosopher and a teacher all about ethics, social harmony, and respect. Make sure you have that over here. Confucius is the first one that goes here. Then you have Sun Tzu. He was a renowned military strategist who wrote the influential book, The Art of War, which if you want to read it, I have it in my room. I have it in my classroom. It's on my desk. The Art of War. All right. Almost to the end here. Now, let's talk about how they declined. Because, I mean, they're not ruling China anymore. They disappeared somehow. Let's see what happened. They had a weakening of the central government. The Zhou Dynasty gradually lost control over its territory. It could not maintain order and stability. So the Zhou Dynasty gradually lost control over its territory and could not maintain order and stability. The Warring States period. The Zhou Dynasty lost power and control over most of its territory. It was a time of constant warfare. So the Warring States period led to the dynasty's downfall. Now, the Zhou Dynasty officially ended in 256 BC. 256 BC is when it ended. Okay. Let's talk about the legacy of the Zhou. Confucianism. Once again, that's a really big part of Chinese history. Sorry about that. The legacy of the Zhou Dynasty. So Confucianism, which is a philosophy developed during the Zhou period, continues to influence Chinese culture and society. And advancements in technology, such as iron production and the wheel, helped shape Chinese civilization. So advancements in technology and so like iron production and the wheel. Advancements in iron production and the wheel helped shape Chinese civilization. So a couple of the interesting facts you may want to put on your poster. You can choose 2 of these. If you want to do more, that's completely on you. Let's read through them. Ruled for almost 800 years, established the mandate of heaven, a concept that justified the rule of the emperor. He said, hey, the gods are telling me that I get to rule. They chose me. Introduced iron tools and weapons, improving farming and military strength. Saw the development of Confucianism and Taoism, 2 important philosophies. And the Warring States period, a time of constant warfare, marked the dynasty's decline. Okay, so that is it for the Zhou Dynasty. If this goes well, we'll do it again for the other dynasties and moving forward. So please make sure you fill out these notes and you have the portion of your poster done. All right, thanks guys. See you later.